a couple of people saw me and said to me, "What is he doing here?"
In the church?
In the church. Said that at a point where I can hear it. They was intentionally about what they had said. I left that church that night and went home and had plotted and planned to take my life.
Welcome to the Going 180 podcast. I am Dr. Deborah Wilson, your host, and I am so excited to have with me the doctor, the pastor, Matthew C. Irving Sr.
Well, hello. Thank you for having us.
My brother and one of my best friends. And so, we're still talking about fit image, and he and I have been talking a little bit before we got on camera. And so we're going to talk about fit image and health and wellness, which is the balance between our external and our internal mirrors from a spiritual perspective and natural perspective. But Matt is and has been in ministry for how long?
Oh, my Lord. We're talking about almost 30-something years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're aging us.
I'm talking, yeah. Wow.
Right. So you've been in ministry for over 30-something years. And so we want to talk about wellness, spiritual wellness. So if you just off the cuff could define, or if you wanted to define what you believe spiritual wellness is, what does that even mean? And is that even a definition? Is that even something that we can define?
I believe we can. First of all, thank you again for having me to be a part of this podcast, Going to 180. Yep. I appreciate you so much, my sister. Spiritual wellness, fit. How can we define that? I think each of us as individuals have to take time to eternally look within ourselves and to recognize that all of us, I would like to say, if I can, all of us are struggling with some type of issue, whether it be mental, emotional, or health issues, physical. There's something that all of us as human beings are struggling and dealing with. And it's not until we look internally and see what it is that we're struggling with that we can begin to address it, approach it, and then recognize where do we need to work on these particular areas of our lives so that we can bring wholeness to us, wellness to us, so that we can be complete, so we can go forth and do what it is that we need to do as individuals serving in this kingdom that God has allowed us to be a part of. So to define it, I would probably say it would be looked at upon like spiritually connected. Spiritually connected to the God that we acknowledge and who we serve, who allows us to be able to rise every morning and to recognize that we are human beings and that the strength that we have, He gives to us. I think the Bible tells in the book of Philippians that I can do all things through Christ who gives me the strength or the ability to be able to do so. So it's being able to recognize where that comes from, where that source of strength comes from, where that source of ability comes from, and then begin to move forward on that.
Okay. So when do you think that, from a male perspective, just, a regular human perspective, that we've gone from, or that a man has gone from wellness in terms of what it meant to be fit, in terms of your external fitness? It seems like men, I'm going to say men, have evolved from just being physically fit or sound, and going more into introspectively, going more into their emotional, their mental health. And now it appears, or it seems to me, and I have noticed a big change in men, especially men of color, Black men, my men, that they are now more transparent and they're more in tune with and more willing to share and more willing to seek help, whether it be therapy, counseling, whatever it is. What has changed, do you think?
I think it's on the larger spectrum where we have recognized that in America today, or in our world, that mental health is a big issue. And that there are a lot of men who have not yet addressed their issues for whatever reasons, are still trying to hold on to the point of being, this egotistical man who does not is not transparent, doesn't wear anything on their sleeve. They hold everything within. And I think as time has evolved, they're starting to see how it is really decaying, how it's breaking them down, how maybe they may have a partner or a homeboy, they say, that is falling apart because they have not have yet addressed the mental side that they're struggling with. And so the transformation or the change that's taking place with men now, I think are willing to address their mental issues, their health. I take it, for example, I was one who never wanted to see a doctor. Never wanted to see a doctor, but as time has progressed, as I began to get older, if I get a little ache and a pain, I'm going off to see a doctor. We become more cautious and we're more concerned about health because we recognize, am I going to be around? But so many are leaving us. That's unexpectedly. Unexpectedly. They're leaving us. And so what's the cause behind it? It's because they're not dealing with the issues that they are struggling with. And so I think men today, you go to the gym now, you find more men in the gym working out on the exterior. And so then likewise, it brings about a change within interior. So I think that's where we are today in society where men, yes, there's been a change. Men want to address their mental issues. They want to transform themselves and have a healthy look about them all around, not just outside, but inwardly. And I think that's important.
And do you think it's affecting our relationships?
I will hope and pray that it does, that it makes it for a stronger relationship. If a man addresses himself, a man is no good to anybody if he's not good to himself. A man is not good to anybody if he's not good to himself. So if he treats it, if he treats his body, he treats his mental capacity, he's concerned about that, he's aware about that, then when he's in a relationship, then he's going to get the same type of attention to that relationship that he's in than he has to himself.
Speaking of attention, do men need attention?
100%. 100%. Men need attention. Men live for attention. And it shows in every area of our lives. That man who's working out, he's doing it for attention. That man who dresses up, he's doing it for attention. The man who goes and buy that car, he's doing it for attention.
When you say attention, okay, let's talk about let's talk about attention for a minute, because a lot of people think that women just need attention, and so we all we have of course the love languages and all that kind of stuff. I think that's the words of affirmation when the quality time we're talking about attention, and also the love language of gifts and things like that. So when you say attention, are you meaning attention to stroke your ego? Or do you mean attention to make you feel good internally? Or do you mean, what kind of attention? Do you sexual attention? What kind of attention do men need? Or are today's men, do they need? And is it categorized by age group, ethnicity? Cultural? Where?
Wow.
Not that you can answer all of those, but
Right. But you put it in perspective. You're right. There's age group. There is cultural. There is ethnicity. So all of that attention and the categories that you listed above, we want all those attention. The physical, sexual attention, the attention, ego attention. Boost my ego, stroke my ego. We want to do that all. And I think oftentimes men struggle within themselves when they don't have it.
Okay, that's a good point. So when they don't have it, what do they turn to?
Oh, they turn to other vices that can be very destructive for them, because they begin to feel like without the attention, they begin to feel like no one cares, no one loves them, no one embraces them, no one appreciates them. So they will begin to turn to other vices that can be very detrimental to them if they don't get a control of that attention that they're looking for.
So, we know each other's story. We've been in each other's lives for a very long time. And so we've watched our processes and our growth and our development and different things that we've been through in and out of our lives. And so, what was a pivotal moment in your life when you realized that you needed to change? You were raised in the church.
Raised in the church,
but
church is all I knew.
Right. Yeah. But life happens.
Life does happen. Life does happen. When when I had because I grew up in the church, all I knew was a church. I was young in the church.
Yeah.
And a lot of people sometimes forget about.
This is a Pentecostal church.
Pentecostal church. So they're do's and don'ts.
Okay, I was going to say, yeah.
There are do's and don'ts. And
you weren't taking smoke breaks and you weren't doing all that.
Weren't doing that. One in the club, one in moves. I mean, I remember growing up younger, I had a pastor couldn't even play sports.
Right.
Because that's what they just believed, that sports was a sin. But as you evolve and you mature a little bit, still being young, and I find myself, I'm PK, my father's a pastor, mother a missionary, licensed missionary. So there were still boundaries and structure. Down on top of that, my dad was a military man. So there were definitely some strict and some guidelines that had to be followed. And so all that pressure upon you, and then getting involved in church, all you know is church, and then taking on the role that you have seen your father as a pastor and other mentors that you may have had, and it's not really being a novice. Mm-hmm. You're jumping into this. I'm going to make a change. I'm going to make a difference. And in doing so, you make a mess. Because you're a novice.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of mess did you make?
I had gotten young. Keep in mind, I got young early. Been married for a long length of time. And in this process of being new and a novice somewhat in ministry, in the church, being a young pastor, I had an issue. I had the mess that I made. I stepped outside of my marriage. Had a child outside of that, but turned around and married the woman. To now we have a wonderful relationship, a wonderful marriage, and things have picked up and moved forward. But the dark side of that was in that messy part of that I became destructive. I became destructive. And also I can say I fault the church for playing a role into my behavior of becoming destructive. Because the church, we've always been told that the church is the hospital. The church is a place you run to, you turn to when you have crisis in your life. And when I was faced with this crisis, when I realized I had messed up, I made a mistake, I'm young, I don't know what to do, who to turn to, go back to the church, and the church pushes you away. And as a result of the church pushing you away, I found myself now becoming suicidal. I wanted to commit suicide because I recognized that all I knew was the church. No one prepared me for calamities and mistakes that may happen being young. No one pulled me in and said, hey, let me throw my arms around it. Let me help nurture you through this. And so I was left alone trying to deal with the mistake that I had created, the mistake that I had made. And I remember one night going to a church and I walked in, I was still carrying this title, and
the title of pastor?
Title of pastor, and a couple of preachers, a couple of people saw me and said to me, what is he doing here?
In the church?
In the church. Said that at a point where I can hear it. They was intentionally about what they had said. I left that church that night and went home and had plotted and planned to take my life.
I'm sorry that happened to you. You know, I find myself, I've been in ministry now we both have, for almost 40 years. And I find myself having to say to us, to apologize to you, to us for the failure.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So I'm trying to say this, help me God to say this in a good way. What makes us think that we somehow have some level of real estate in heaven that we can pick plots for people like we do grave sites here on earth? I don't know what makes us think that we all of a sudden become God's security guards, that we can tell somebody where they're not going. We have the right to tell somebody where they do or do not belong.
Excuse me.
And I think that, I think that kind of threw me for a minute, actually, what you just shared. I mean, it's deep because it's hurtful.
Well, that's been my pain for numerous of years. That was my pain.
That's.
And I had shared with an individual that you have to study a man, look at a man when he does something that's out of his character. There's something wrong.
That's right.
And no one ever looked at what's Irving hurting with. Yeah, he going through?
Right. And so one of the things that I've always said in ministry is that, we spend so much time looking at what the person's doing that we're not getting behind the scenes to find out why. The easiest thing to do or to say to someone is based upon your behavior, based upon what you're doing, or based upon a set of circumstances, you're going to hell. I mean, what a wonderful pedestal, arrogant, and inappropriate approach to ministry, right? Mm-hmm. But we do it as opposed to try to figure out why the person's doing it. Jesus is the ministry of why.
Yeah.
Remember the man that was sick? And then he had the demon. It was the man's son. He had a demon and he was throwing himself in and out of places, cutting himself. And the disciples said, who sinned? Mm-hmm. Was it the father? Was it the mother who sinned? And Jesus said, neither one of them did. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it's so that my glory can be revealed. Right. And so a lot of times this has nothing to do with, my ability to point out what you've done. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it's really for me to reach out and reach in. And for us to reach in to find out what can we do to find out what you need in order to get better.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I said at that dark moment in my life, the pain that I was experiencing, I had not too long ago lost my mother, which was the glue to the entire family. And I remember I was on the job at the time and I had I was doing my job. I was working in payroll and I've done this constantly, always. And my immediate boss came in and looked at my sheets, looked at what I was doing. She said, "What's wrong?" What do you mean? She said, "Everything's backwards."
Oh my God.
What do you mean? What do you mean everything's backwards? She said, "Everything that is here, you got it all flipped around." I'm like, I don't know what you're talking. And I couldn't see it. Mm. And I didn't realize that she saw something. She said, "You don't look right. Something's wrong." And
she wasn't in the church.
She wasn't even in the church. And I was having what they said at that point in time. I was having a breakdown. Mm-hmm. And I got off to see a doctor and got to see therapy and to try to find out what was going on. I was having a breakdown because my mother, the savior of my life, if I may say it like that, the only person I knew who I can go to, talk to, confide in, I lost her. She was gone. And I'm now what do I do?
Now what do I do?
Who do I talk to?
Who am I?
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And so all these things begin to unravel for me in my life. Mm-hmm. And it caused me to do some crazy things. Mm-hmm. It caused me to make a mess of my life at that point in time. And then it was one thing after another. Mm-hmm. And so with this, as the church said, this mistake that I had made and then not being accepted, I was plotting to take my life.
And you and I can talk about that because you are the very one that helped me when I was in that similar situation. Mm-hmm. It was you that I called.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And I had my daughter and my oldest, and I basically called you and said, I need you to take care of her. And I had it all, like I'm talking now, like it was, theoretically, all, prospectively, right. But, and it's so interesting because, we're talking about it like we put butter on toast.
Yeah, right. You put a little jam on it,
Exactly. But I'm not trying to be funny, but when you're in that ministry, you are even in that mode of trauma, even in that mode of nervous breakdown, even in that place of, I'm ready to actually take some pills and go to sleep and don't wake up. Yeah. We're still talking as if we're over the pulpit. Right. Right. Because I remember calling you just very matter-of-factly and saying, this has happened, and this has happened. So therefore,
this is what's next for me. Yeah.
This is what's next for me. Yeah. And you had to you talked me off.
Talk you off the ledge.
You talked me off the ledge. And because we get to a place when you go to a place that is supposed to be safe for your health and wellness, for your fit image, and you go to those places that are supposed to be sanctified and set apart as safe, and they are not safe places. The safest place, of course, we know in the whole wide world, what?
Is in the arms of Jesus.
Is in the arm of Jesus Christ. But when you can't get to him.
Yeah, what do you do?
Mm-hmm. And then what do you do?
Yeah, and like I say, I'm new at pastoring, lost my mother, and my whole earth is shattered.
Mm-hmm. And in a relationship that's shattering.
And in a relationship that's shattering, then you turn to a person who offers you some sense of comfort at that point in time that you need, that you're not getting anywhere else. And it's interesting Previously we talked about, when the church should be the place of refuge, the place of a shelter, the place of healing, the hospital. And it's interesting if you look throughout, and not justifying any of my actions at all.
Right.
But if you look at scripture, every man who had fallen or had a mistake in the Bible was at the hands of another woman. And yet, specifically, and God spoke and still utilizing and raised them up. Specifically, he looked at David and said, David, you're a man after my own heart. And David was treacherous. Not only did he take a man's wife, but he had the man set up to be killed.
My God.
And then God said, but you're a man after my own heart. Why? Because when he realized the error of his life, then he repented. He cried to God. And I think too often we're so quick within the church to turn people off, to cut the lifeline off, to turn the lights off on them, and not being there to give them life.
And again, I say, I apologize because, and to anyone, to you, my brother, and to anybody else that will listen to this and that's happened to, because we don't have a right to do that. The call and the clarion call to ministry is, in loving kindness have I drawn thee. We do not have a right to condemn. We do not have a right to set and sentence and to do the whole jury with that individual. Just like we don't like how police treat people of color. The church kind of does the same thing.
They do.
They become the judge and jury right there on the spot, not even understanding why, not caring why. Now, should individuals expect those of us who do carry titles and positions and have acclimated and have, done these different things so that we can be in a place of ministry? We say that we're called in ministry. Should people be able to expect us to live a certain standard of living? Yes. We're not talking about that part of it. That's obviously true. We should be a safe place, the same place that we're saying that we go to, that they should be a safe place for us. One of the things I think that happen, though, when we have these experiences, because I have had them over and abundantly, is that it gives us then a different heart and a different perspective.
It definitely does.
So how then has the change that you went through, and how has it changed your self-efficacy, which is your belief in your ability that you can do something, that you can conquer, that you can overcome? How has that then changed how you minister to other people today?
More soft and tender. The other portion of this is, I lost my fit image. I have lost being healthy. During that period of brokenness and in pain, it lost all that. And so the road to recovery or road to get it back, it was tedious. I fluctuated between weight up and down, had some health issues and challenges, all because stress. They say stress is a silent killer. Stress will creep up on you and take you out. And so I was stressed. And then lo and behold, when I tried to commit the act of suicide, and it didn't work. And
I've been there. I know. That's mine.
And it didn't work. I came alive.
Thank you, Jesus.
I woke up.
And
I remember it was a cold night. And I had a bottle of, I was going to drink myself drunk.
And I don't even drink. You don't even drink.
Don't even drink. And I was going to walk down to the beach and just walk on into the water and drown myself. And I can't swim.
So the way you're saying it.
So it would have been easy.
So it would have been easy.
It would have been easy. Because once I'm out there.
Lord have mercy.
And when I got, as funny as it is, when I got to the beach and began to walk into a bit of the water, first of all, it was a late night, so the water was cold. Freezing cold. And that's what kind of woke me up. It woke me up, and I jumped back out of the water, and I stood there. It's about 1:00 in the morning. I head back to where I was living, sat on the porch, And I just sat there and asked myself, what am I doing? Oh, what am I doing? There's too many who have paved the way for me, who had invested in me, who thought highly of me. And what am I doing to throw this away? And I begin to think about my mom and my dad. What would they say to this type of conduct, this type of act? When they were so proud of me, as I kind of came alive, pulled myself together, crying like crazy, cried all throughout the night.
That's good.
Cried throughout the night.
They're not good. I see. I feel the Spirit of God. That's good because that's what you needed.
Yeah.
That's that broken.
I was broken.
Yeah, that's that anguish right there. That's that brokenness. Yeah. That's that brokenness to change.
Yeah, was broken.
See, one of the issues that we have is that some people they won't allow themselves to. It's so hard.
Yeah.
The outer
exterior,
is so hard with bitterness, and fear. And you're angry. That you're confused, and you won't allow yourself to. But that breaking moment.
So that breaking moment. So keep in mind, I'm not pastoring now. I'm not pastoring. And all night long I cried. Trying to figure out what have I done. Guilt kicked in. Feeling guilty about my actions, about who I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to represent. The next day, I jumped in the shower, pulled myself together. I said, I'm going to church. Regardless of what they say, I'm going. So I went and I sat among the naysayers. I sat there, held my head up high, just to be in the presence. Not so much in the presence of the people, but to be in the presence of the Lord.
Uh-huh.
And that would begin to transform my journey to becoming fit, to becoming made whole, to be healed, and to be set free from what the enemy was trying to do with my life. Because I believe he was trying to destroy. He was definitely trying to destroy me.
Uh-huh.
He was trying to take me out because I was considered to be up on the rise, the upcoming.
You definitely were.
And
you just pivoted.
Just had to, you just
because you still are rising. You still have risen.
Oh, life has been good now. Me and the wife and the family. It's been a hurdle. It's been difficult. It's been challenging. Sometimes you still deal with some of the looks of people trying to hold you to your past. And I tell myself, matter of fact, the past is the past. It is what it is. I'm not held by that. I'm no longer that. So I move forward, build enough strength and courage, trusting in God. He's been opening doors, making ways out of no ways. I'm a proven fact he can take a failure and turn it around and make something good out of it.
Going back a little bit, when you say that, you lost your mom, and then you kind of lost your way. Had there been anything else, maybe as a child or anything else that happened in your childhood that, men are close to their moms usually if they have a good mom, right? Sometimes even if they don't, but is there anything else that happened in your childhood that also contributed to the breaking, do you think?
Well, as you said, men are usually close to their mothers. Other than my mother was my grandmother.
Okay. I remember.
My grandmother.
She used to buy you all of that.
My grandmother bought my first robe.
I remember.
And I wasn't even a pastor.
I remember.
She said, she heard us. She said, you preaching now? So she bought my first robe, black and white robe.
I remember.
The black and white robe, bought it for me. My grandmother kept me dressed to the nines.
Yes.
She said, you're going to be a preacher? This is how we're going to do it. Kept me dressed. And I lost her. And when I was young, and all my relatives then thought I was going to snap. I was going to break. And I didn't. I kind of held it together. They were concerned because when you saw my grandmother, you saw me. She didn't go anywhere that I was not present with her. And I think I held on to that. So losing her, I held it together. Lost my mother, that broke. And I think it was the catalyst of grandma and my mom, two very intricate and important women in my life that I would gravitate towards.
You had a good relationship with your father too.
Yeah, it's interesting because he was my stepfather.
I remember.
We had an awesome relationship. Once he put me in check,
he was a good man.
He was a very good man. Took care of his family, nurtured all of us, groomed us. If I say, we had a real good relationship, and I appreciate it. He didn't have to take me in as he did. He took me in and then didn't treat me any different. Matter of fact, it got to the place where I didn't want to be without him. And what was so interesting, he was involved in ministry. He was at one church preaching. I was at another church preaching. And we had come together, had this dream that we would exchange pulpits, and I preach for your pulpit and you be preaching my pulpit. That was our dream together. And before he passed, he came to I did a revival. And I was doing a revival. I was off in school and came back to do a revival. And he had been ill, had suffered a heart attack. And he had came to this revival that I was conducting. And he rejoiced and said, I was a little worried like that. You can't do all this, you can't do all this. Just, you're just in a place of recovery. And for him to hear me, I think that was the last time that he saw me in action, preaching and ministering, praying for people. And I believe that was the last time
before he passed.
Before he passed, yeah. And
how does you have two sons?
I have two biological sons,
and the changes that you've gone through and that were they a witness to that? And maybe the youngest one might not have been, but
the youngest one not so much as the oldest one.
Did it have an impact on your relationship?
And it did have an impact. It did have an impact.
He's your twin.
He's very much so. There's a lot of questions that he has and trying to figure out, and our dialogue has been not the best dialogue, sometimes vague, because I try to share with him, I don't want to relive because there's still some hurt made there. And to relive that and to give you the answers that you're looking for is going to cause me a lot of pain that I'm trying to get over now. And they always say that when you can talk about it, you're over it. So I'm at a place now where I believe, talking about it, it's not as such. It's not painful.
It's painful. You think? You're talking about it with me, and you're on a podcast. But I think talking about it with him, whom it impacted, is probably it's hard.
It's hard. Yeah, that's hard. And try to get him to a place for him to understand. He's in his 30s. And to get him to understand life. And this is what we're talking about. These are life issues we deal with. And I've got the scars now. So that you don't have to bear the scars, and so that you can remain fit in who you are as an individual. So we it's all about doing life now. We're lifing, and so I do pastor. I'm currently pastoring, and my motto is delivering a real word for real people in a real world with real issues. So you asked me earlier, how do I minister to people? And I said tenderheartedly, with love and care, because I've been there. I've been on that side, not receiving what most of them want. There's someone I'm not condoning. I don't want anybody to condone what I've done, but to be there and to pray me through what I've done and to tell me it's going to be okay. And that's what I'm there for them. We do an outreach program, and they come, and I don't check them on their problems, their issues, or what they're dealing with, what they're going through. But I'm there listening and just offering love to them and tell them, hey man, I love you. God loves you too.
And what I like about it, I think the church has really evolved especially the Pentecostal church. I could say Church of God in Christ, perhaps, but we've evolved, maybe perhaps not all, into what I did not hear you say is what they have on. I think that we've evolved trying to tell an individual that their fit image, especially their spiritual fit image, has a lot to do with what they put on what they wear. I think we've gotten past that on some level. I haven't even heard you even address that. I think that even through the pandemic, perhaps, is when some of that change happened, is that people were just happy that people were coming back to church. And I don't think they care what they have on.
Regardless of what you have, come on.
Yeah. I think that when a person, becomes with an understanding of the Lord, and they learn his love, right, as opposed to his condemnation and his rules and his regulations and his standards, but they learned that through his love, they'll change what they're wearing.
Yeah.
They'll change, their modality of their modus operandi, but they're not going to do it because you're trying to convince them. They'll do it because of conviction. And I think that, look at this generation. We're now, pastoring is a hard thing to do. The generation coming up is a little bit different.
Very, very different. Very different. And it's interesting because I was doing a study not too long ago, and I was looking at the Gospel of Luke chapter 9. And it says, and Jesus called his disciples together. And then the next verse, it says, on the next passage in there, it says, and he gave them. He gave them. What did he give them? It says he gave them power and authority. And then following the power and authority he gave them, then he gave them some instructions on what it is they were supposed to do. And so it's interesting, this new generation, a new generation of preachers, male and female, new generation of disciples. They're not waiting for anybody to give them anything. And keep in mind, we have lost a lot of our fathers.
That is true. I mean, the real spiritual fathers.
The spiritual fathers.
I mean, the ones that really were spiritual fathers. And I'm not talking about the ones that had a form of godliness but denied the power. I'm not talking about those that were manipulating, because unfortunately, there have been both.
There's been both. But no, the true, genuine spiritual fathers,
we've lost them,
who took time to impart into you.
And they weren't jealous of you.
And they weren't jealous of you.
Yeah.
But it was funny, as I was reading that passage of scripture, and I was having a conversation with some other individuals, coming up in the church, the senior pastor did everything. And we got a chance to read a scripture on a Friday night or Sunday night. We was ecstatic. We were like, hey, I'm in here. We want to invite everybody because they hear me read a scripture, right?
But that was humbling.
And very humbling. But they took
us through a process.
They took us through a process to impart to us, to teach us. And that's why I go back to that text. It says, and he gave them. And then it says, as he gave them instructions of what he gave them, how it was supposed to be used. And then he said, and he sent them out. He sent them out, which means he recognized it was now time for them to go and to have ministry on their own.
Succession. We don't do that.
We don't do that anymore. And so I'm saying, this new generation, that we have some great, talented, skillful men and women.
Yes.
But they're lacking one element. They're lacking in the element of that father figure. They're lacking the impartation. And so in today's society, we see that there are many men and women who they're looking for the platform. And they're going and no one is sending them. They're going and no one is sending them.
I'm going to sip my drink on that one.
Jesus, in that particular passage of scripture, he recognized it was time for them to go. And so it says he sent them.
Well, there is a decay.
Yeah.
There is a decay in leadership. Now, there's a decay in leadership in this country.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a decay in leadership. And I'm not talking about just in the White House.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the leadership.
Right.
And there is a decay of leaders in the church. And there is a decay of leadership in the home.
Yes.
So we have all of those elements. And you're saying if they're looking for that leader, that fathership, they're not going to get it because does it even exist?
It exists. And it's not, like you say, all those components, but every reformation has lost the father figure.
Has lost them, yeah.
And so now you have these men and these women who are rising to the forefront. They're going out, looking for the platform, looking for the gold chain, the ring, looking for the vestures.
Still, because at this point, we're just lucky to be able to afford rent.
Right? We got so much to deal with.
Those of us who don't have inherited homes or an inheritance, I'm serious. I'm not trying to be funny, but my daughter was just telling me that the rents where she lives, people are paying over $6,000 for a 2-bedroom to rent.
Easy. So we have other things too.
The economy doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So there's so many different layers to this. You're right. But we're talking about spiritually fit. So you're right. There is an element of spiritual fatherhood that is missing.
It's missing. And so that impartation.
There's no impartation. And the individuals that are left here to then carry on the torch because some of them weren't sent.
Yeah.
And then some of them don't have the character.
And it's funny you say it because I'm not trying to be, I applaud every man and woman's gift and their talent. I applaud it. But you got 20, 25-year-olds being bishops. When you get to a bishop level, that's a father figure. Who are you going to be a father to? At 20 and 25.
You're not even a natural father.
You're not even
or married, some of them.
And not only that, along the way, what type of wisdom have you gleaned?
When did Jesus start
his ministry? Experiences.
How old was Jesus?
At least 30 years.
He was in his, So my point is, you're right. You can't, and we're not saying that you can't be those things.
No, we're
but we're just saying that without that tutelage and without that nurturing and without that maturation.
That's what you need.
You would have to have that just in a natural sense.
Yeah.
You cannot just, belly up.
Yeah.
Without having that maturation and having, the guidance and having that, we do recognize, and I know you do, our children and what their ministry might look like, what their anointing might look like today. Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever, but the world is changing, and so what my daughter looks like in her leadership role in her ministry. Or your sons is not going to be what we look like today. And it's not going to be what our fathers look like. And we do recognize that.
Not at all.
But what we're here talking about is there's no impartation. There's nobody that's actually pouring out into them. But then also there is a mentality of a sense of entitlement in these young people where they don't feel like they need to be taught.
That's also true. That's very true.
Even if you wanted to teach them something, they're not willing to listen.
Because they already made up their mind they're going to change the game.
And they would rather receive, now I'm very clear on this, they would rather receive their tutelage from social media and the people that they believe to be iconic as opposed to the people that are right here.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of them are getting it from.
Yeah.
Like I said, they've already come with the mindset, as I stated earlier, that they're going to change the game.
Into what?
They're going to change the game. I did a message not too long, a year or so ago, and talked about how we lost our fathers. Then you have the sons, and then you have the grandsons. The sons are doing everything they can to kind of maintain what the fathers had established. The grandsons come along and say, "We're not even doing it like that." We're not even doing it like that anymore. We changing the game.
And there's nothing wrong with that on one perspective, because let's face it, you have to evolve. But they're missing the fundamental part of the heart of it.
That's what we get.
They're missing the heart of it.
Yeah.
They're missing the hard work of it.
Yeah.
They're missing the integrity of it.
Yes.
They're missing the moral compass of it.
All those pieces.
They're missing the pieces that really will cause sustainability and won't cause them to shipwreck and won't cause them to embarrass themselves.
Right.
And won't cause them to lose more than they've gained. And so that's where, and the other issue is, there's not a lot of level of patience.
There's no patience. No patience. And again, that affects your image, your fitness.
You have to have patience. It's not a sprint.
It's not a sprint. It's a long game. It's a marathon.
It's a long game.
It's a marathon.
It sure is.
And so, and if you're not, I used to run, and I found like I used to run every other day, about at least 3 miles for cardio, right? And I found out that I had to spend more time in the gym working on my leg because it's not the stamina. You can have all the stamina you want, but if your legs ain't conditioned, they'll be turning into rubber bands. You can have the stamina, but the foundation is what you need.
That's right.
And so if you haven't conditioned and worked on your legs to build up muscle,
that's right,
in the legs and the calves and all that, listen, you can run a marathon, you can have the stamina for it, but your legs start giving out on you.
That's right.
The foundation is weak.
Foundation is weak.
And so that's what we're saying there, that you got to have a foundation.
Yep.
So that you can endure this race, because it's a marathon.
It's a marathon.
And so you got to be able to build yourself in such a way that you in this for the long haul.
And at our age now, it's a situation.
Here you go.
It's a situation. No, serious. Getting out of chairs.
It is a situation.
Getting out of bed. No, I'm serious. It's a situation. And my pastor was preaching. He said that some days it's an actual production. Yeah. So you're right.
Yeah.
If you don't have the right foundation.
You don't have the right foundation. And as they say, as we get older now, I remember when I was dealing with some issues, and I had a physician, and they understand what it is that you do. And he said, you have to do something, because he said, your style of preaching, or the culture, the church, I'm a part of it culturally. He said, 1 hour of preaching is like 8 hours
of cardio.
Of physical hard labor,
of HIIT, which is it's intensive.
It's intensive. So being in ministry, and men, women, you have to have a regimen. You got to be able to have some type of outlet where you're exercising the body, doing some type of cardio, lifting some type of weight.
Good. That's good.
And eating properly.
That's good.
And because it will wear you out. So I remember my church now. If I do any hollering, it's not at my church. If I do any in my preaching method, any exuberant, it's outside, because I understand that I'm in here for the long haul. So you come to my church, it's all lectures, all teaching, it's all, because I'm trying to preserve myself.
Right.
I can't see myself doing that every Sunday.
Right.
Every
all
Sunday.
That exhortation and all that.
All that, so you have to, so you have to pace yourself, so a lot of that exuberant or celebration of the text of the message is done when I'm outside at somebody else's church, because I'm only there for a moment.
Well, you brought up a good point. When we're talking about fit image, when we're talking about change, pace, that's another thing I think that really, really makes a lot of sense, is in ministry and in our spirituality and in our walk and in the things that we do in our relationships is pacing. One of the things that we were taught, I know growing up, and you said you got married young, I did too, which is a mistake of the church, is that they're not teaching you to pace. They're not teaching you how to pace. They're not teaching you how to keep yourself. They're not teaching you how to have self-control. And so I know that there is this movement now where there's a celibacy movement where young people, as I'm saying, men are changing, and it's not comprised of just women, because it's easy for a group of women to get together and talk about being celibate and all this other kind of stuff. But it's different for a man to have that same conversation, right?
Yeah.
Because we've been taught all this, while, and biologically we are different, but then men have different needs biologically than women have, and we're all different clocks and things of that nature. We get that, but we're learning that we are now getting in a trajectory in a time where we have to learn pace. And, how long does it take to get from here to there? What is going to be our pace from here to there? And I think that has a lot to do with with how we conduct ourselves and how we perceive our own wellness. And you brought up a good point. You brought up several things. You brought up the fact that we have to have foundation. We have to be stable, and that we have to be consistent. But that pace, I think, is that it speaks to that consistency. Because what you're saying is, we can't just rush in.
No.
Fools rush in.
Yeah.
I've heard. But what you're saying is you have maybe a generation now that says, I'm going to change the game. I'm going to rush in. I'm 20 or 25 years old, and I'm going to take on a role that normally you had to be at least 45 years old to take. And you're saying, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it, and I'm not going to do it in the pace I'm not going to do it with the foundation. So I'm going to go out there. I'm going to sprint, and I'm going to burn out.
And that's what happens.
And my character can't keep me.
Yeah, that's what happens. It's going back to just physical life. We're instructed and told, what are your goals in life? What's your goal? You got a 3-year goal plan, a 5-year goal plan, and a 10-year goal plan.
Yeah.
And what are you doing to what do you have in place as measurements for each of those increments? Your 3-year, your 5-year, and your 10-year. What's in place?
Yeah.
You don't run out quick and just, I'm going to do this 10-year plan, bring it to fruition. Yeah. You got to work towards that. You pace yourself. You gradually work toward the 10-year, but you're going to get to the 10-year if you have accomplished the 3-year and the 5-year.
Right.
And all those, the 10-year, the 5-year, and the 3-year. The 10-year should have everything in the 5 and the 3.
Right.
And it get you to the 10.
You don't go from one.
It's gradually. Yeah, you don't go. Right. It's gradually. And so
now we're not saying that. And I okay. So there's a dichotomy. I'm not saying that it'll have to take you a long time.
No,
so I'm not saying that. Young people now are accelerating differently than we did, and there's different technology and there's different reasons for that. Right. So I'm not saying that they have to necessarily take as long as we did to do certain things, but I am saying that they have to also understand that maturity doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
It takes time.
So with maturity, there is time.
Yeah, it is
with
time.
Maturity, there is time.
I hope it doesn't take them as long as it took me.
No,
seriously, because there's some things that because of the fact of I'm going to say not the failure, but the failure in church and some of the things that we got, like. If you have a problem with pornography, if you have a problem with perversion, then you get married. That's not the answer.
That's not the answer.
We were taught that.
Yeah.
Or if you have something going on within your body, that you're not going to be, you're not a eunuch and you want to be married, then you get married. That's not necessarily the answer either.
Right.
So I think there's so many life lessons that we've learned and so many things that you and I have been taught that were wrong, and that now in ministry we can help. We can help
the next.
We can help the next group.
Yeah, the next group. And you're right. And there's some things that we've been taught were very helpful.
Very true.
That kept us. So then, like
self-control.
Self-control.
Yeah, you need to be in the church. Now, I know we went through COVID. We went through all of that. We went through the pandemic, and I get that. And I also get this, young people, that especially PKs, you've seen a lot.
Yeah.
So now, I don't want to go to church because I've seen a lot. I've seen this and I've seen that. And I've seen hypocrites and I've seen that. And I've also gone this far to say, not only have I seen it, but I don't want to replicate it. And I want peace. The biggest issue that I'm finding that people are really trying to hone in on is their peace.
Yeah.
And they're saying, and because the argument used to be, well, you have problems at work, but you still go get a paycheck. Yeah, because I am getting paid. And there's a means to an end. And the other thing is I have rent to pay. Whereas in the church, if it's not serving me and I can't serve there with peace, I'm not going.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm not going because at this stage in my life.
And you're right. And understand.
That's where I am.
That's part of that fit. That's part of that fit image. You have to have. You got to have a source and a place of peace.
That's it.
And if you're not at peace within or at peace with what it is that you're doing, the whole life is going to crumble.
That's right.
And so I think that's the balance that all of us we look for now as we matured and got a little older in ministry. We look for places of peace.
We do.
I love having worship service. I love getting home and tune everybody out.
Things have changed. All those 3 and 4 services. We go to church 3 and 4 times a week.
3 or 4 times. Oh, my goodness.
Okay, but let's think about that. And as we get ready to, kind of come to a close, is that when that was happening and we were in the church and we were made to go to church a lot, and a lot of the pastors, that was all they were doing was church. Kids were going to hell.
Yeah, a lot of kids have. Yeah, a lot of pastors' kids.
A lot of the pastors' kids. While the pastor was up preaching, the pastor was taking care of the parishioner. The pastor was doing this. The kids were failing school. The kids, if one kid went to church, and the other one said, "I'm not going to church."
So I can speak directly on that because my youngin, this hurt me. I come to tears whenever I tell it, and I've shared it with the church. My youngin was involved in sports, played football, very talented, very skillful at it. And he was with a league, Pop Warner football.
It's on Sundays.
And it's always on Sundays.
Yep.
Always on Sundays.
Yep.
And unfortunately, as sad as it is, I was not able to make some of the games. Mama was there, but Daddy was not.
Nope, can't be.
And it was one evening he sat on the edge of the bed with conference. I was trying to give him a little pep talk for his game on Sunday. And he said to me, he said, Dad, when you coming to my game?
Mm-hmm. Because Pop Warner's on a Sunday.
That crushed me.
Mm-hmm.
As you're speaking that, and I'm a pastor, and I'm not there for my boy. Because I'm in church taking care of everybody else.
That's right. When am I going to become important?
When he said that to me, that hurt. That really crushed me in such a way. And that following week, I called a board meeting. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I said, we got to make some adjustments. Mm-hmm. I said, my son's involved in Pop Warner football. Mm-hmm. And I had not made none of his games the whole time. He played 9 years, Pop Warner football. Pop Warner football for 9 years. Probably the last year of his season of playing, well, it hit me. I remember I made my schedule available, and I told the church, and so the church said, yes, whatever we need to do. So they reschedule. They allow us to reschedule so I can go be at his games. So for his last season, Pop Warner football, I was at every one of his games. Traveling here and there, I was there. And I had to say, as selfish as it was, I was glad when he transitioned into high school because his game was on Friday night. But I made a point, I never miss a game. So every Friday night, all his games, away games, I would leave work early
to be at this game.
To be at his games, because I'm not going to go through this high school year.
Those were sacrifices that we made. And my daughters were the same. They didn't get to play Pop Warner. They didn't get to cheerlead because I was pastoring. Yeah. I was pastoring. Yeah. Right. And I was single mom.
Yeah.
And so I definitely understand that. My daughter, I was hiding from my reality. And so I had taken on 3 or 4 different ministries. And my daughter was always a straight A student, started failing while I was in 500 different ministries. Right. And I let go just of 1 or 2 of them, and she went right back to A's and B's. All she needed was me there. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes if we're not careful, we hide. We hide in ministry. In ministry. So pastors, male or female, if you want to be effective, you got to take care of the family. You got to be there for the family. Yeah, you got to be there for the family. Husband and wives.
Yeah. Yeah, likewise.
See, that's another thing. The husband was so taught that he had to be in the church all the time that the wife didn't get him, or vice versa, or the husband wasn't going to church or whatever, and the wife was doing that. And that there were so many divorces in the church.
Yeah, and it's still happening. Yeah. And I'm constantly apologizing to my wife or thanking her for giving me the space and the time to do what it is that I do. I make it publicly known to the church, that the time that I can be with her is taken away because I'm doing ministry. So I thank her for giving me space to be able to do that and to still stick by my side. And I think we got to find that balance. I think we've been struggling years with this. Years with that. I think the church is still struggling because we feel that the church is it. I got to be there for the parishioners. I got to be there. It's funny. I tell people, and I share with people, if I go on vacation, I'm back by Sunday because I want to be there for the church, right? Because I have a role to do. I have a call. I have a place to be at. So vacation may be cut short because I need to make sure I'm back by Sunday.
Yeah, that's why, and that's when you ask God to send somebody to help.
Yeah,
or pull somebody else in.
Yeah.
So I mean,
because what happens? Well, the other key to this, and some can probably attest to it. They listen to this. That the people are so prone to your voice.
That's true.
That we are always skeptical or alarmed or cautious to allow another voice to come in. Because sometimes that voice, what you spend years nurturing and building, can come in and just
destroy it.
And destroy it.
Well, you got to know who you're bringing in, and
you got to know. Yeah, that's the key. You got to know.
I mean, I like I said, there's been years of this. I mean, that's what we can get into. That's a whole nother conversation.
That's a whole other conversation. Yes, it is.
And what I probably will do is we can at one point set up, and it'll be good to do a podcast with just some people that are in ministry, just talk about just talk about that part.
That'd be good.
Because and one thing I will say though, that really has changed my life are podcasts. So one of the reasons why I wanted to do this was because I think that this is a good platform because people can hear the heart, they can hear the truths, they can hear, it's not therapy, but it definitely is transparency. And we can ask questions. I can ask you the questions, some of the questions that people are afraid to ask, and and have you answer them.
Mm-hmm. And some of the questions they answer will lead into, or they weren't intended to answer
that part. that part.
Well, it is good.
If you could speak to a young person, there's a couple of questions. If you could speak to a young person that says, you know what, I'd rather just go to church online.
You're not going to get the same as you would in presence. There's a different element when you present than it is online. You can't feel online what you feel being in the house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want.
Let me say that. To add to that before you move on, you're not challenged.
That's what it is. Yeah.
In the house, online, you're not challenged. In the house, you're challenged.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where your development begins and your growth will happen because you are being challenged.
If we could label this podcast, if you could give it a title, because I like to title this episode, what would you want to call it?
Wow.
Mm-hmm. For you.
For me. I think I would probably go back to the issues of life that I dealt with. And remember I said one of my mottos for our church is a real word for real people in a real world with real issues.
Something along those lines.
So, I'm trying to become fit. I got to deal with the real issues.
That's what they call them.
Now, in order to be fit, you got to deal with the real issues that life presents.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm grateful.
I enjoyed this podcast, and I hope that those who observe, hear, watch, that they will not be judgmental, but that they receive something that will help them.
Yeah.
That they allow me to speak to them.
Yeah.
Knowing that all of us are living in a real world with real issues, and we all need a real world.
Now, isn't that the truth? Well, amen. You've heard it from, again, Pastor Dr. Matthew C. Irving, Sr. And I look forward to you watching this and then subscribing to our channel and being blessed by what you've heard here. And also putting some comments in there that I will be sending over to Pastor Irving, then you can answer at a later date.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for having us. I've enjoyed it.
For substance abuse treatment and mental health referrals, contact the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration's National Helpline at 1-800-662-357.